Good, good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your night in the news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you are well. Today is December 19th, and it is Friday. Hopefully, all you guys have had a wonderful week, and hopefully, all you guys have a wonderful weekend. Can you believe it? Christmas is like basically here. It's 6 days away, which is absolutely crazy. The Christmas season is coming, and it's crazy. It really is. Or, the holiday season, of course, if you do not celebrate Christmas, my apologies for that. As always, the holiday season is here, and I hope all of you guys are enjoying it so far. Outside of that, though, if you're new here, though, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. We're getting super close. We're literally like less than 400 away. Come on, guys. If you're new here, subscribe. All the support is greatly appreciated. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month. All funds go to me. It helps me pay for my groceries, my clothing, all those kinds of things. This is a viewer-supported show, so all the support is truly greatly appreciated. But with that being said, let's get into the news from today. Of course, for those of you who know, the Epstein files have been released today, and that's what we're going to get into today. But I would just like to say, I've been I spent a couple hours today on TikTok Live going over the Epstein files, reviewing mostly images is what we've gotten into so far. And from what I've heard from other sources, a lot of the actual documents are really redacted. What I've seen so far is mostly images, and I will be spending, the next few days on TikTok Live going over the Epstein files, seeing what I find, discussing what I find with you guys on that live. So if that's something you're interested in, check out my TikTok. With that being said, let's get into the files. So, of course, some of the files have been released, not all of them, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But let's talk about what we did, or what I did see in the files today. So far, it's been a lot of what we have expected to see. A lot of weird art. We saw a lot of statues. We saw a lot of statues of tiny crouched over babies. That was really uncomfortable to see. There was also a statue of a woman hanging from a rope in a stairwell. We saw one leg sticking out of a wall with hands putting on a ballet slipper. There was also a lot more just weird statues. We kind of chalked it up to them being investment pieces. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein was a financier. And of course, when you're making money and investing money, you're going to buy art pieces. I mean, that's a great investment. That's what we assumed a majority of these things were. But a lot of these were kind of really eerie and really creepy. There were also a lot of photos and paintings of naked women throughout what the photos that we saw, especially in hallways and in offices. Of course, there were also a lot of redacted things. A lot of images throughout the files were just plain black screens. Just nothing at all. You can barely tell what's in there. And there were many photos with Epstein and presumably victims. Many of these photos were framed on his desk with redacted faces, or framed on the wall. We saw a huge blown up picture of somebody in Epstein on a wall, which was insane to see. We also saw multiple angles of the painting of Bill Clinton wearing the Monica Lewinsky dress with a plaque alongside of it. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out what that plaque was saying. But we did also see a popular image of Trump and Epstein framed on a table. Interestingly enough, there hasn't really been much so far that we've seen about Trump. We saw this one image and that was it. And I literally had to zoom in to see this image. With all the files and with not all the files being released, it really makes you think it's for sure that they are trying to cover up Trump here. I mean, if you go to the DOJ website and if you look up Trump's name, he doesn't even appear. And his own administration themselves has said that Trump is within the files. So the fact that he is not appearing at all in the slightest is a massive red flag. It really is. We also saw a bunch of images of other popular celebrities, including Marilyn Monroe and Michael Jackson throughout Epstein's properties and such, and many, many more other people. There were also a lot of building maps and layouts, which was really interesting. I did a bit of research into these locations on the live. Nothing was too clear as you couldn't get a precise address. But we did find that some of these buildings were very close to locations like Trump Tower, which is a big deal and could possibly relate to something. Of course, a lot of these images were reviewed on my stream and were very uncomfortable for me to personally look at. Something about the vibe as a whole of these images just really made me personally feel super gross. We'll keep going over them on TikTok live for the next few days. If you guys are interested in that, please go check that out. All the support is greatly appreciated. But as a whole, big things are going to happen because of this. And just because all the files aren't released yet, some things are still going to happen. And things are going to happen because the files aren't released yet either. They were legally required to release them today. And the fact that they didn't is going to lead to legal repercussions. As a whole, it's going to be a massive thing. They claim that they will continue to release these files throughout the next few weeks and the next few days, and we'll see how that goes. But if you're interested in checking out the files for yourself, everything's available on the Department of Justice website. You can look up Epstein files released. That's how I did it. And then I found a website of the DOJ. I haven't gotten into any court documents or anything yet. From what I've heard, a lot of it is just redacted, not much at all. But we've barely scraped the surface, and we're going to keep getting into it over the next few days. I'll keep reporting on you, keep telling you guys what I found, keep telling you guys what I see, and keep telling you what develops as people continue to look into them across the country and across the world. In other news, the Department of Justice has refused to release all of the files today. The Department of Justice will not be releasing all of the Epstein files today, according to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Blanche said on Fox News that the department would release several 100,000 documents today, but not all of them. He went on to say, I would expect we're going to release the documents over the next couple of weeks. They claim that this is due to protect the victims. And then this goes against the ruling that they were given by the House Oversight Committee that gave them 30 days to release the files. They had to release them all today. And the fact that they haven't breaks the law, which means there will be legal repercussions. This isn't shocking at all in the slightest. I kind of expected this. I think most people did. This is something we've talked about really since the start of the Epstein file debacle. In this year and in this administration, a lot of people have said, and I myself have said, that they are probably going to say no to releasing portions of these Epstein files, especially when it relates to Trump. And that's seemingly the route that they are taking here, which is wild on so many levels and really says a lot about the connections between Trump and Epstein and how connected Trump is within the Epstein files. I mean, bottom line is there is a large lack of Trump within the Epstein files, something that is not expected at all. He should be even if he is just connected through Epstein through some weird friendship, and he didn't even know about what was going on, he would be in the files a lot more than he has already appeared. I mean, there are multiple pictures of Michael Jackson within these files. You're telling me we can't have multiple pictures of Donald Trump? That is bullshit. At the end of the day, that really is. A majority of these photos are all over the internet too. We've seen so many images of Trump and Epstein together. So many, there are thousands of images of Trump and Epstein together. So the fact that we have seen essentially really nothing is a red flag. It is a red flag and a half. All of these people within these files are creeps, Democrat or Republican. They are creepy, and they should be in prison for the rest of their lives. We've seen a lot of pictures of Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton should go to jail. He has relations to Epstein. He knew about the girls. He knew about what was going on. He should go to jail for that. Will he? Probably not, unfortunately, but he should. And everyone else related to the Epstein files should go to jail. It's just really bizarre that the Department of Justice is refusing to release portions of the Epstein files. And also at the same time, Trump, who has been famously connected to Epstein for a very long time, just doesn't appear in them at all. That is a red flag to me, and that should be a red flag to everyone else. In other news, Congress has warned that the Department of Justice will face criminal charges if they don't release the files. Of course, now they will face criminal charges. If the Department of Justice does not release the files in full today, they are expected to face criminal charges, according to Representative Ro Khanna of California. The Epstein Transparency Act requires all of the files to be released by today, December 19th, yet it already looks like that won't be the case, and that already essentially has been the case. The files aren't going to be released if they haven't been released yet, and we're going to have to wait for those if they even decide to release them. But if they aren't, there is expected to be legal action. The Transparency Act does not specify what specifically the action will be, but it better be something, because if we don't, people got to get out of office, that's for sure. This better happen because they haven't released the files in full. There better be people prosecuted. There were they were legally required to release all of these files today. They had to do it. There was nothing that said they couldn't do it. Like, they legally had to do this today. Yet they have broken the law and decided not to do that, which is something that people should be prosecuted for, without a doubt. And on top of that, Trump is seemingly like just not appearing within the files, which is a massive deal. I mean, the connections between the two is insane. There are thousands of pictures of these two all over the internet. To me, it seems like a huge red flag and something that needs to be addressed. This was one of the things they brought up when it came to be the time to release the files. They said the release of these files could not be politically motivated. It does not matter who is who, what side is who. If they're a Democrat or Republican, it cannot be politically motivated. We need to get these out to the public. That's what they said. And yet this administration is continuing to not release the Epstein files in full, and a lot of these Epstein files don't even have a trace of Trump. That is a red flag on so many levels. Whether you're MAGA, whether you're on the left, wherever you are, you should be able to recognize that that is a red flag. And with how this administration rolls, I feel like there is a lot at play here. Anyways, moving on into our Trump administration segment as we close out of the Epstein files. The first topic we have today is the green card lotto has been suspended after the Brown University shooter has been found. We'll talk about more about the Brown University shooter being found here in a second, but the Trump administration has announced that they will be canceling diversity lottery visa immigrant programs after the shooting at Brown University and the killing of an MIT professor. In a post on Twitter, Christy Nome wrote, "The Brown University shooter Claudio Manuel Nueves Valente entered the United States through the Diversity Lottery Immigrant Visa Program, DV1, in 2017 and was granted a green card. This heinous individual should have never been allowed in our country. In 2017, President Trump fought to end this program following the devastating New York City truck ramming by an ISIS terrorist who entered under the DV1 program and murdered 8 people. At the president's direction, I am immediately directing the USCIS to pause the DV1 program to ensure that no more Americans are harmed by this disastrous program." We're going to take a sip of water real quick. This is definitely an interesting one, and although there are historically issues with this, I don't think blaming the entire program is something helpful, nor does it help the situation at all. Blaming it on one person is really stupid. What else do you expect from this administration, though? They have focused heavily on preventing people from coming to the United States. They have focused heavily on preventing people from coming to the country that is built off immigrants and that has historically been built off immigrants. I mean, they really do want any excuse to stop people from coming to the United States in any way possible. As a whole, this is another one of those decisions made to impact immigrants' communities. That's how I see it, and I'm sure that's how a lot more people will see it. Because, yeah, sure, one person made through. We've had bad people come through. Yes, absolutely. And that's a problem. That is a problem. I'm not going to say that isn't a problem. We shouldn't be letting people like that come through and make it through the system. But also, it negatively impacts these immigrant communities who are actually trying to come to the United States for a better opportunity and for a better life. And it allows these communities to be targeted, which should not be allowed, especially when we have a mass Gestapo running through the streets across this country. In other news, the Kennedy Center already has Trump's name on the building. Shocker, I know. The JFK Performing Arts Center in Washington, D.C. has officially gotten its new name, as Trump's name is now on the building only a day after the vote took place to add his name. The new name of the center is the Trump Kennedy Center. Rather than the Kennedy Trump Center, Trump had to put his name first. Trump said he was surprised and honored to have his name on the center, yet the committee for the center was installed by him earlier this year, so it kind of makes sense. It's his own people that he's putting into power here. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office, "This was brought up by one of the very distinguished board members, and they voted on it, and there's a lot of board members, and they voted unanimously, so I was very honored by it." This is wild, and Trump 100% knew that this was going to happen. There is nothing that anyone could say to change that in my mind. I mean, the vote was literally approved yesterday, and his name is already on the building. Not to mention it was approved by people that he put on that council. That's just a sign right there. That is a red flag. It really is. Trump for sure knew that this was going to happen. I mean, normally a project like this to put someone's name on a building would take a few weeks or a few months to, make the letters, to get them print to put them on the building and stuff like that. It doesn't just happen right away. And the fact that it did happen right away really says a lot about the situation. Trump for sure knew about this, and it was very likely something he pushed for. And it's an absolute shame that, a building for a legacy of one of the greatest people who ever served in the office of the president has to be tarnished like this. In other news, the Brown University shooter has officially been found. The suspect for the Brown University shooting has been found dead in a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire. The suspect has been found and identified as Claudio Neves Valente, as a 35-year-old Portuguese national. Officials also believe that he killed an MIT professor 2 days after the Brown shooting. Authorities have not suggested a motive, but he was found dead of self-inflicted wounds, according to authorities. Both victims did study in Portugal in the late 90s with the attacker, and according to Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Naroja, the shooter was found by a Reddit user, which is very interesting. The Attorney General said the user blew this case wide open after he met the shooter and told the police to look for a gray Nissan with Florida plates that was possibly a rental. This is for sure a very interesting one, especially with the fact that a Redditor helped, discover and close the case. That to me, is really wild and just odd. Props to them, I guess, though. As a whole, the entire case feels uneasy and weird. It feels very weird. There's been very little information about it since the start. And for some reason, still nobody knows at all why this happened. And that to me is a huge red flag, especially with the fact that the MIT professor that was killed was a nuclear science professor. I mean, you don't just target someone like that for no reason at all. There were definitely motives, and I'm sure that there are motives to be found out there, but there's just a lack of information. And that to me is a problem, in my mind at least. In other news, moving on into our final topic for tonight, the United States has officially struck Syria. The United States has launched multiple airstrikes against the Islamic State targets in Syria as a retaliation for the attack on U.S. personnel that took place last week. The strikes were confirmed by Pete Hegseth and targeted ISIS fighters, infrastructure, and weapon sites. Hegseth dubbed the operation Hawkeye Strike. Hegseth claims these strikes are not a declaration of war, but a declaration of vengeance, saying the strikes will continue to take place. This is nothing new. Troops have been on the ground in Syria for a while due to the conflict with the civil war and due to our government trying to assert influence within the country. So don't let them play it off like this is a new conflict. This is nothing new at all. We are essentially already in the conflict. This is not something that has changed. We were here before, and we're going to keep staying there. Once again, this does display how willing the administration is to go into war. Yes, these strikes did take place after U.S. troops were killed, but that doesn't mean the strikes have to continue. Like Hegseth is claiming, these strikes are going to continue as a declaration of vengeance, which is, I mean, that's a problem. You can't just go out there and strike countries. Granted, yes, U.S. troops and a citizen were killed, and I'm not going to overshadow that. I think that something needs to be definitely done about that. But we were already in this conflict. We were already playing a role. That's what you expect when you're in conflicts like this. If you have troops in the ground in a country that is actively in a revolution, where there are groups opposing you and there are groups that support you, you're going to expect your troops to be killed or injured. It's just something that's going to happen. And the fact that we are, escalating this conflict by pushing more strikes as a declaration of vengeance, to me, is wild. And it comes at a time where this administration claims that they are against wars. They claim that there's no more new wars. And on top of that, they're also actively waging or attempting to wage war against Venezuela, and so many other things throughout the world. I mean, this administration has gotten us into conflicts time and time again. And as always, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But it truly is a waste of time. And is it a distraction? Probably. I mean, they literally took this strike. They could have done this strike whenever they wanted to. These troops were killed last weekend. They could have done this strike earlier in the week, but they chose to do it on the same day that the Epstein files were released. Like that says a lot already, and that's something that needs to be addressed. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I really do hope you all enjoyed. It's definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, that is for sure, especially with the Epstein files and all the other things that have happened today. And as always, we'll continue to keep you guys updated on all the news that we come out with, or that comes out with, throughout the week and throughout the weekend. If you're new here, though, please consider subscribing. All the support is greatly appreciated as we are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. We're getting super close, truly. We're less than 400 away. So come on, guys, subscribe here if you're new. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing. Like I said, it's $8 a month, and all funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, like my clothing, like all of that. This is a viewer-supported show, so all the support is truly greatly appreciated. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's episode, and I will see you all tomorrow.